Mike Evans is poised to have a historic season. We were actually going to talk about today how Mike Evans was an all-time underrated player, as he has the NFL record for 8 consecutive 1,000 plus receiving yard seasons to start his career. And on top of that, he's also been a touchdown machine, as he's near unstoppable when his team gets into the red zone, as in 4 of 8 of his seasons he's had double-digit receiving touchdowns. But the more I looked into his story, what the Bucs roster looked like, and watched more games from last year, the more it became very clear that the 2022 season has the potential to be all-time great for Mike Evans. And so in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and then we're going to hop into some film to get an even better understanding. So let's get right into it. Mike Evans has been overlooked seemingly his entire career. Since entering the league in the 2014 draft, not only has he been an Iron Man, but he's also done some things that very few and even others in his very impressive draft class haven't been able to achieve. The 2014 receiving draft class had guys like Sammy Watkins, Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Cooks, Marquise Lee, Kelvin Benjamin, Jarvis Landry, Allen Robinson, and Davante Adams. Some very impressive names on this list. Some that lived up to the hype, some that didn't. But even the top names on this list haven't been able to do what Evans has. Like Davante Adams only has 4 1,000 yard seasons. Odell has 5 and 3 double-digit touchdown seasons. Jarvis has 3 1,000 yard seasons and 0 double-digit touchdown seasons. Allen Robinson with 3 and 1. And Brandon Cooks is the second closest with 6. But 0 double-digit seasons. Mike Evans has been the definition of consistency, and it's not like he hasn't got the attention from defenses either. He frequently has a safety over the top of him for the most part of his career, so that's not the reason. They just haven't had an answer. So now, what's with the 2022 season that makes it special? Well, a few things. One, he has the GOAT Tom Brady, and they'll be going in their 3rd playing season together. And Brady, who even at his age was able to throw for a league-leading 5,300 yards last season. And one more thing to note about Brady, he's known for what he's able to do pre-snap, spreading out the ball and always making the best read presented. But what he isn't credited enough for is he's been on the throwing end of some historic receiving seasons as well. It's not always about the best matchup, but he knows the talent he's working with and who he can trust. We look back to 2007 when Randy Moss had 23 of Brady's 50 touchdowns on that season, which is still the record for single season receiving touchdowns by any one player. Or just a few years later in 2011 when Gronk had an historic tight end season with 17 receiving touchdowns. Again, still a record to this day. So not only is Brady coming off a 2021 season where he threw for the most yards in his long playing career and also the second most touchdown passes of his playing career, but he's also known for creating historic seasons for his favorite targets, which leads me to my next point, the Bucs' current roster. And it's not so much as what they do have, but who they don't have. No more Rob Gronkowski, no more Antonio Brown, no more O.J. Howard, no more Ronald Jones Jr., and Chris Godwin is still on the roster, but his timeline is still unsure with his ACL repair from the injury he suffered in early January. He may be ready to go by week 1, but there's really no rush to get him out there, so we don't exactly know when we can see him. But also, give him a few weeks after his return to get his legs back underneath him. So, that means that their other receiving options for Brady are Russell Gage, Tyler Johnson, Brashad Perriman, Scotty Scoot Scoot Miller, and Cameron Brate at tight end. Not to slight any of these guys, they're all great young players and they have their place in the league, but there is no doubt who the clear number 1 guy is. It's Mike Evans. And looking back to just a year or two ago when they had so many mouths to feed on this Bucs offense, there seems to be only one mouth that is starving, and there isn't going to be any shortage of targets thrown in Evans' direction. Brady's going to get his. He's not coming out of retirement to be decent or have an okay record. He wants to win, and he will abuse his best players and do whatever it takes necessary to win. And coming back to what I said earlier, it's not like defenses can just start keying in on Mike Evans to shut him out of the game. He's been respected in the league long enough by coordinators to get the safety help over the top or just put their best corner on him, so this won't be new territory for him. All of the stars are aligning for this to be an historic season where I wouldn't rule out a 2,000 plus yard season and 15 to 20 touchdowns. But with a claim like this, we not only need to understand it conceptually, but back it up with film. So let's take a quick hop into the film room to show you exactly what I mean. And now that we understand conceptually why Mike Evans is going to have the opportunity to put up big numbers, let's see how he's actually going to do it. And I think Evans has a lot of traits that Brady's favorite targets from the past had, like Rob Gronkowski and his consistent presence as a huge athletic target over the middle of the field. Being able to come down with these contested catches and a huge catch radius, getting open across the field off of play action, whether it's beating your man across the field or just finding the soft spots in the zones on such a consistent basis. When Brady feels the pressure, he can just even throw it up, knowing that his big body target is more than likely going to come down with it if he does. Now, Mike Evans does have a lot of work from his outside, and he's not Rob Gronkowski, don't get me wrong, but the plays he makes can be very Gronk-esque. He has some of the traits that Gronk has, and now with Gronk's absence, he can fill this role in a lot of sets, and this will be huge for Mike Evans, racking up the yards on the season total. But looking at some of the ways he can get a lot of touchdowns, as we mentioned earlier, he is a huge threat in the red zone, and it's not always just a jump ball threat. He does it in a lot of ways. Sometimes he's just simply too big for you, and there's not much you can do about that. But other times it's going to be route running, his physicality, his route manipulation. Not to say that he can't get a jump ball in there, but no matter where they are in the red zone, it seems that Mike Evans always finds a way to get slightly open, and Brady has the trust in him to put it up now. And it's all levels of the red zone, as we're starting to see some deeper red zone throws where they're the 15-16 yard line all the way up at the goal line, and we're going to see here in a second when you're at like the 18-19 yard line, he is still a threat. When you're looking for the run when the field's condensed, he can still take it over the top. And so as a defense, you're already worried about the Bucs running game and everything else Mike Evans can do. That's not to say that he can't catch a body like we mentioned earlier. Brady will just throw it up, and Mike Evans is absolutely big enough to come down with this on a very consistent basis. And so no, he's not Rob Gronkowski, and he's also not Randy Moss, but that doesn't mean that Evans' 4.5 40 speed isn't very deceiving. Because he's so big and physical and what he can do to you at the line, this allows him to burn by some of the league's best defenders, and this is why you can't leave him one-on-one all that often. Even though you think your cornerback is much faster, he's going to be more physical than you, and he doesn't need that much space to get it open, and they're always going to have to be susceptible to the back shoulder throw that him and Brady have already started to build a connection with. Like here at the bottom of your screen where he's just way too physical for the cornerback and is able to get right past him. And you really have to put someone over the top to help him, because you can't just throw out your best corner on him, as Mike Evans has been torching the league's best corners for years at this point. Guys like Marshawn Lattimore, one of the top cornerbacks we have in the league. Mike Evans in the division has gotten the better of him. It's been a really nice back and forth, but a lot of the times when Lattimore has success is when he has some sort of safety help over the top. And who freaking get this play over Jalen Ramsey in the playoffs? A huge touchdown to get the Bucs right back in the game. And what the Bucs did last year that I thought was really cool is if the defense wants to be aggressive and play in a one-high shell, then they give their cornerback some buffer room. What they started doing as we look at the bottom of your screen is Mike Evans comes back on this 20-yard curl. When he catches this ball, look how much separation he has from the DB. So not only does the DB have to worry about him crossing his face or Brady throwing it up anyways, but also respecting the speed, and the Bucs ran this multiple times last year. And just to show them a few more examples of this time at the top of your screen, these 20-yard curl route, not only do they take a long time to develop, but they're also very hard to run. And the Bucs have been able to have a lot of success. Yet another way Mike Evans can just rack up a ton of yards this season, being the main target. So now that we started to understand why Mike Evans is going to have the opportunity to have a historic season with no more Rob Gronkowski, no more O.J. Howard, no more Antonio Brown, a hurt Chris Godwin, Tom Brady is going to look to throw to Mike Evans a lot, and Brady's coming off a huge season with a ton of yards and a ton of touchdowns, and Mike Evans is no doubt going to be the number one guy. But from this film analysis, we've also seen that he has a lot of the traits that Brady loves throwing it to, how big he can be over the middle, how he's an absolute red zone weapon, and he has the speed. 4.5 speed is very deceptive with his size, and he's able to snap it off 20 yards down the field and get all sorts of things. So no, he's not Gronk, he's not Randy Moss, but he does have some of the traits and the consistency to stay healthy throughout the entire season, where if there was ever a year for Mike Evans to break close to 2,000 yards and 15 to 20 touchdowns, it is going to be this season. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like this video if you like videos like these. Make sure to comment down below what you think. And as always, subscribe if you enjoy daily sports content. I appreciate y'all so much for checking out the channel. And as always, I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.